Yo, 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 it is what it ain't. It's your boy Rude Dog. Check this shit out, man. We got your boy Snoop Diggity Dog in the motherfucking building. Well, he ain't in here, but you know what I mean. Snoop Dogg. This nigga's slipping. He's slipping, slipping, slipping. I'm talking about ain't nobody respecting this motherfucker. They taking this shit down. They motherfucking tearing this business up. All this bullshit. But anyways, before I get on off into Snoop Diggity 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 Dog, this is an adult channel. This is my disclaimer. You will hear adult things going on. You will hear adult things popping throughout the channel. You will hear me cussing, saying all types of things. You'll probably see me smoking vape, all types of shit. But anyways, that's my disclaimer. But now we in this piece like what? Because Snoop Dogg about to tell y'all how it is. Well, he ain't gonna tell y'all shit, but he gonna show y'all why these motherfuckers is hating on Big Snoopy.
What do you think about Snoop? Is he a Crip or blood?
He's supposed to be a crip.
Why you say suppose? He's fake? Is that real?
You fake. Snoop, you fake.
Man, what you think about Snoop's story getting vandalized by Bloods?
I think why would he put it in a blood neighborhood? Inglewood full of bloods. Why would he put his store in Inglewood? You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Pac was trying to disrespect Nas. It definitely wasn't the way Snoop said it. Once again, I don't know why he keep putting his spin on it. You know what I mean? It's I wish somebody can ask him that, like, bruh.
So, Snoop Dogg is famously known for his old ties with the Crips. Now, everyone knows the Crips are one of the most notorious gangs in America. Normally, if you're associated with a gang like that, especially a big name like the Crips, you'd automatically get a load of respect from the streets. It's almost like a badge of honor, right? But with Snoop Dogg, it's completely different. Despite all his interviews and stories about his street cred and gang experiences, the streets just don't respect him. Not his gang, not any other gang, no one. So why is that? Well, it turns out there are several reasons, but one of the biggest ones is that Snoop Dogg has been caught lying multiple times. He's been known to exaggerate or straight up make up stories about himself. He often talks about being involved in events where he wasn't even present and tries to make it seem like he was there. This includes stories about his time with legends like Tupac and Biggie. Over time, people started catching on to his lies. The more he talked, the more obvious it became that a lot of what he was saying wasn't true. Because of this, the streets gradually lost respect for him. They began to see through his stories and realized he was not as authentic as he tried to appear. Now, no one in the streets take him seriously anymore. Take, for instance, the time Snoop Dogg got caught lying on a Hollywood set about how he supposedly helped the director of the Training Day film in a neighborhood flooded by the Bloods. According to Snoop, he had ordered a blue tracksuit from the wardrobe for the movie. When he arrived on set, he realized it was a Blood neighborhood. So he claimed he asked to speak to the local OG, who coincidentally rolled up.
If you really want to be a CEO, want to be an entrepreneur, you should take the first step. Create the LLC. It doesn't really cost that much to create a company. Everyone's scared about like going out and just
in a wheelchair like the one
Snoop
Snoop was
faking. Snoop faking, y'all. What's really hood? Snoop, come the fuck on, man. You on your bullshit. Snoop over here hating. This nigga went over here in a motherfucking blood hood wearing blue, supposedly, and talked to the OG, supposedly. And supposedly he let that shit slide without getting his head knocked up. Come the fuck on, man.
the film. Snoop said he ended up buying $300 worth of weed from the guy as a peace offering, which supposedly allowed them to continue shooting.
The movie was Denzel. Before I got the scene, right? They said, "What you want to wear in the movie?" I'm like, "Give me a blue sweatsuit. Let me get my blue chucks." They didn't tell me where it was. We get to that with 100,000 bloods on the corner. Hey man, go find the OG from here and bring that down here. Got to shoot 3-4 days in a row. No harm, no foul. Gotta know how to politic.
But the real story? It was later found out that Snoop Dogg didn't do any of that. In fact, the Bloods attacked him by throwing bottles at his trailer, and it was someone else who stepped in to calm things down while Snoop hid in the trailer, scared. Spice One, the gangster rap pioneer, recently shared this story during an interview with The Art of Dialogue. He recalled how a group of Bloods who are rivals to the Crips.
Wow. See, Spice One ain't even a gangster like that, but he out there in it. Know what I mean? That's fucked up.
Crips were harassing Snoop on the set of the 2001 movie. Spice One said he was alerted to the gang members throwing bottles at Snoop's movie trailer. After making his way over to the set, he managed to defuse the situation. "I'm out in LA and my OG Crip homie hit me up. He was like, 'Spice, they're at Snoop's trailer.' There are some blood guys over there throwing bottles at his trailer, he recalled. He didn't say blood guys because, he's not going to say that, but that's what he meant. I was like, oh, so in so many words, he told me to go over there and try to calm them down. They'll listen to you. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, man, they don't know me. Why would they listen to me? But since the OG told me to go, I went.
Throwing, bottles at Snoop trailer. He didn't say blood niggas because he ain't gonna say that, but that's what he tell me. And I barely understand him, but I got it. I understood him. Since the OG said go over there and holler at him and try to calm him down because I think they was throwing bottles at the.
When Spice One arrived at the training day shoot, just his presence alone was enough to calm the Bloods and stop their attack on Snoop. Quote, so I go over there, they see me, and they're like, damn, Blood, that looks like Spice One, Blood. He continued. I'm like, it is me. Y'all got any weed? What's happening? I told them, man, they're saying y'all were throwing bottles at Snoop's trailer and stuff. They're about to call the police. We need to get out of here before they come. And they were like, okay, cool, let's bounce. Nobody wants to deal with the police anyway. So we bounced, walked around the corner, and started smoking some weed while waiting for the cops to show up. They drove through, looked around, and left. I dapped up the guys, then went to Snoop's trailer and hung out with him for a bit, smoking some weed or whatever. I don't think he even knew what I was there for.
I see him and they look at me and he like, damn, Blood. He like, they look like Spice One, Blood.
Damn. See, Spice One got credit in the hood like that. See, that's the issue. See, sorry I had to sit here and look all quiet and shit. But Spice One got that motherfucking credit in the hood, nigga. That's what it is, nigga. He got that. He got that. That's Spice Wizzy. Spice, what a one, Spice, a one.
Out of here. So, they was like, okay, cool, let's get bounce the up out. Ain't trying to see the Opos anyways.
Another instance where Snoop Dogg has been called out for being a liar was the infamous MTV Awards incident between Tupac and Nas. New York in the mid-90s was a wild time for hip-hop. You had Nas and Biggie battling for the throne, and up-and-coming Jay-Z and Wu-Tang starting their takeover. The competition was intense. Then, you throw Tupac into the mix and it was like pouring gasoline on a fire. On the opening track of Nas's sophomore album, The Message, the Queensbridge rapper claimed the King of New York crown and took shots at Biggie and Jay-Z. But word got back to Pac and he thought Nas was dissing him on the song, especially with the opening line, fake thug, no love, you get the slug, see before gusto. Suddenly, it wasn't just Biggie, Puff, and Bad Boy that Tupac had a problem with. Nas got dragged into it too. It didn't help that Nas was running with Mobb Deep, who had their own beef with Pac. The Tupac versus Nas beef came to a head at the '96 MTV Video Music Awards, where they bumped into each other. According to Snoop Dogg's version of the story, Nas had 100 Queen shooters with him who started to surround the outnumbered Death Row crew. But Nas didn't want to fight, not because...
Did you know that you could be making life-changing money on Instagram and it doesn't even require you to have a lot of followers? The things I'm going to share with you in this video are an exact blueprint that you can implement right now.
Because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. He kept his cool while Tupac was going off on Nas, insulting him, not realizing he was surrounded and could get K-worded.
But Nas had 100 with guns.
Right.
So listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
By me saying he didn't want none didn't mean he didn't punk out.
The crazy part about Snoop's story is, besides the fact that he disrespected Tupac by calling him ignorant, Snoop Dogg wasn't even present when the whole ordeal went down. According to Napoleon, who was actually there as one of Tupac's guards, that's not what happened at all. On the contrary, Tupac and Nas were civil to each other. Pac never disrespected Nas like Snoop claimed. It was a mutual respect thing, and they cleared up the misunderstanding between them.
Pac wasn't disrespecting Nas at all. I know Snoop said Pac punked Nas and then went to Snoop and said, you see how I got these New York dudes? None of that happened, bro. It was a respect. It was a mutual respect thing. So when Pac and Nas met each other, it was nobody talking disrespect from both sides. Maybe the people behind Nas and the people behind Pac was mean mugging, saying certain things, but Pac and Nas handled it like real gentlemen.
According to Napoleon, Pac even said that when he got back to LA, he would remove Nas's name from every diss song where it was mentioned. Unfortunately, Pac couldn't do it because he passed away shortly after. Napoleon also doesn't remember Snoop being there at all.
And Pac literally told him, he said, look, I got songs dissing you. When I go back to LA, I'm going to remove every verse that I mention your name in. But Pac couldn't do it because he passed away. I don't remember Snoop being there. Definitely. I don't remember Snoop being there at all. Unless he was like in the cut somewhere, like, you know what I mean? When nobody saw him but him. But I don't remember him being there.
And then there was this commercial Snoop Dogg did about the Crips and Bloods that really didn't sit well with either gang. They saw it as a major sign of disrespect, considering the deep, complicated history and meaning behind their rivalry. Snoop's intentions might have been somewhat good. He wanted to stop the violence and stop black people from K-wording each other like Tupac used to say. But the way he went about it was completely off. And the worst part was that he used the commercial to sell a beer brand, which kinda defeated the whole purpose of his message. Instead of focusing on the serious issues of gang violence, it came off like he was using the gang struggles to make money.
Hold up. Before you shoot me, man, can you remind me why we each other? I know we both barely got education and can't even spell our own name.
I contact your grandma, tied her head behind the back, and suck my and then your granddaddy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about blasting on my.
Now, like we mentioned earlier, all of these started making the streets lose whatever respect they had for Snoop until it was completely gone. People started showing him physically that they didn't like him anymore. An example of this was the Bloods throwing bottles at his trailer, like we mentioned earlier. Another instance happened when Snoop Dogg's Funko Pop store in Inglewood got vandalized by the Bloods. Last year, Snoop Dogg opened his store in January selling Funko Pop and gold figurines based on his life and career. The Dog House was created after a partnership between Funko Pop and Snoop was announced. Before the grand opening, Snoop was really excited about the venture. He said, "This new store stays true to who I am as an entrepreneur and rapper." He added, "I can't wait for my fans to experience, touch, and feel it. Once you see it, it's like no other thing in the world." The Doghouse will blow your mind. Everything seemed great at first, but a few months after the store opened, it got vandalized. The store features a mural of Snoop outside wearing one of his signature all-blue outfits, which is a nod to his affiliation with the Crips. In photos shared on social media, you should see that vandals had spray painted over Snoop's blood outfit with red paint, which is the color of the Bloods, the Crips' rival gang. The vandals also tagged the wall next to Snoop's mural with anti-Crips messages, including CK, which stands for Crip. Now let's dive into the beef between Snoop Dogg and Suge Knight, a highly respected member of the Bloods. The early 90s music industry was a whole different world, with many aspiring rappers emerging straight from the streets to share their raw, authentic stories. Back then, the idea of internet fame was as futuristic as flying cars. For Snoop Dogg, signing with Death Row was a golden opportunity for a role in 20s Long Beach Crip to move from the streets to significant financial success. Snoop Dogg's rise to fame is an epic saga full of twists and turns. To understand his history with Suge Knight, we need to look at some key points. Snoop Dogg was Dr. Dre's protege, working closely with the legendary producer. Dr. Dre, being one of the most brilliant minds in the music industry, created magic with Snoop. On the other hand, Suge Knight handled the business side of things. He owned the label's successes and decided who got what share of the profits. Snoop talked about this dynamic in a 2018 interview with Vlad TV. He explained how, while he and Dre were making timeless records and rising to stardom, Suge was building his musical empire and growing his wealth. This mix of creativity and business shaped the dynamic between the major players at Death Row Records. During his peak after releasing Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg got caught up in a highly publicized trial. A 1996 Washington Post article covered his acquittal, noting that a guilty verdict could have landed him an 11-year sentence. Looking back on the trial and its impact on his life, Snoop told reporters, "For the last few months, I've been trying to figure out if I'd be able to raise my son." You know what I'm saying? Around this time, Dr. Dre started pulling away from Death Row, fed up with Suge Knight's increasing involvement in violence. Dre left Death Row Records and didn't contribute to Snoop's second album, The Dogfather. Snoop also grew tired of the label's focus on violence. In a 2011 interview with VH1, he said, "The Dogfather was a rebirth of me. I'm not gonna glorify none of this negativity that Death Row wanted me to do. I'm gonna bring a positive side of music." Both Dre and Snoop, key figures in Death Row's history, wanted to distance themselves from the label's violent image and take a more positive direction with their music. Snoop Dogg left Death Row Records after releasing The Dogfather. The low morale after Tupac's death, Dr. Dre's exit, and Suge Knight's arrest, which led to a
You can turn any slogan or funny quote into a professional design in just minutes with one tool. Making text-only designs, whether that's shirts or anything else, used to be super hard, but
9-year prison sentence for a probation violation made things worse. Snoop decided it was time to leave the Row and join Master P's No Limit Records. This move marked a significant shift in his style and resulted in two of the most underrated albums of his career. Snoop's dissatisfaction with Suge Knight's approach to ownership and control became more obvious over time, leading to a strained relationship between them. Snoop's move to No Limit Records offered a fresh perspective. Master P embodied a more educational and collaborative ethos, which was a stark contrast to Suge's heavy-handed control at Death Row. This shift to No Limit felt like a move towards greener pastures, reflecting a departure from the restrictive atmosphere of Death Row. At some point, possibly coinciding with Suge's forced removal from the game, Snoop became more outspoken about his disdain for Suge. A documentary recap from Bet highlights an older interview where Snoop discussed his decision to leave the Row. He said, "I was working against the devil, and through the grace of God, Master P and Priority Records put a deal together that was suitable for me." This same documentary also shares Suge Knight's perspective, evidenced by prison phone calls and archived interview footage. Suge essentially claimed that without him, there would be no Snoop Dogg. In another clip, an MTV News reporter asked Snoop about Suge's latest dismissal, saying he used to be a superstar, now he's just a no-limit soldier, which prompted an absolutely legendary response from Snoop. He used to be a CEO, now he's just an inmate. The middle finger Snoop flash served as the perfect punctuation mark to that statement. Clearly tensions were running high.
So basically, then Suge was hating on this nigga good. He was hating on this nigga like, damn. I'm telling you, man. Snoop need to get his shit together. Really need to get his shit together.
Throughout his sentence, Suge maintained a sense of love towards Snoop, given everything they built together. However, the damage was done, and absence did not make the heart grow fonder. Before Suge was ultimately released from prison in 2001, he told a reporter from The Observer about his intentions to revert the game to the Wild Wild West. He declared, "I got plenty of scores to settle," in a rather foreboding fashion. By this point, Snoop had released 3 records with No Limit, appropriately concluding with The Last Meal. Meanwhile, Suge was...
Now hold up. I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah, I'm just into this motherfucker just like y'all. But yo, Snoop did. Hold up. What songs did he do with No Limit? He did The Last Meal. That was a CD he did with No Limit, I think. And he didn't do Dogfather. Some Tank Dog. I think The Last Meal. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Don't take my word for it. I'm just guessing. I could be wrong. But I could have sworn that it was The Last Meal or some Tank Dog. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I could be wrong.
busy trying to reassemble the Row, bringing in new names like a young Crooked Eye, Eastwood, and more. It seemed like he intended to make good on his earlier threats, even going so far as to press Exhibit about his relationship with Uncle Snoop. However, Snoop's gangster persona was not to be tested. Despite Suge's imposing demeanor, Snoop decided it was time to put his former associate on blast for everyone to see. The feud between Snoop Dogg and Suge Knight reached its peak in 2002, characterized by heightened hostility between the two. The culmination of this animosity occurred at the Vibe Awards that year, where both Suge and Snoop were present. There was speculation that a potential physical confrontation was narrowly averted, thanks to the timely intervention of the perennial peacemaker Steve Harvey. In 2004, during the Vibe Awards, Dr. Dre found himself the target of a sucker punch. Quick action from Young Buck subdued the attacker, but the incident left lingering tensions between the Aftermath Snoop faction and the emerging Death Row Goliaths. Both Snoop and Suge were well represented, with reports suggesting Suge was seated just a few feet from Dre. The assailant reportedly claimed that Knight orchestrated the attack, a charge vehemently denied by Suge's legal team. Despite the almost apocalyptic tension between Snoop and Suge, fate intervened once again when Suge Knight returned to jail due to a probation violation. Though Snoop's big homie was quick to step forward, Suge swore he meant no ill will. Still, the animosity between the two men was running high. Snoop himself mimicked pulling a trigger for emphasis. He recounted, quote, "I had people who saw him before I did, explaining that he had to call a timeout. When I finish with the little woo-wop I'm with," Snoop said, addressing Suge, "I'ma have my folks come tell you what room I'm in. Then when you come up to my room, ain't gonna be nobody in there. Just me and you."
Oh shit. Snoop got gangster.
45 minutes later, Snoop and Suge were having a face-to-face conversation. Nobody in there except me and my guy Superfly, Snoop revealed. Superfly ain't no threat. He's just a producer who wants to hear exactly what's happening. So Suge and I are chopping it up, and the whole conversation is, I loved you, man. I could have saved you. I had nothing but love for you. And his conversation is, I loved you. I ain't got nothing but love
So basically,
for you. Snoop then retorted
these two niggas wasn't even fucking beefing. This was just some bullshit.
with a harsh but fair question. Quote, why'd you try to get me popped if you loved me? You know what, I forgive you, I ain't gonna do nothing to you. There's people outside that want your head right now. They ain't gonna do nothing to you. You're gonna walk on out of here and we're gonna be cool from this day forward and we've been straight. However, it seems like Suge Knight isn't interested in reconciling with Snoop Dogg. He keeps releasing tapes that hint at some serious crimes supposedly committed by Snoop. Knight boldly declared if it weren't for me, Snoop would still be in prison doing life, as he recounted the events leading to the infamous trial. In 1993, Snoop Dogg and his former bodyguard Malik faced first and second degree murder charges related to the death of Philip Little Smooth Voldemariam in Los Angeles. Knight detailed the legal strategy, recalling a crucial moment. The lawyer said, well, the bodyguard has a 9mm, so we can't say he protected Snoop and shot the guy. Snoop had a 380, I said. We'll be in trouble if the bodyguard had a 380 and Snoop had a 9mm and he got shot with a 380, right? He got shot with a 9mm. But since Snoop had the 380 and the bodyguard had a 9mm and he got shot with a 380, all the bodyguard got to say is he was using 380 bullets in his 9mm. Some people think Suge Knight is hinting at Snoop's involvement in Tupac's murder. Even fans are convinced that Snoop might have had something to do with it. One of them wrote, my man's scary, you play both sides of this fence, and Tupac finally noticed at the end. Another one added, but he got a diss song dissing Biggie too. Snoop a fraud, and Pac said Biggie didn't have nothing to do with it, but Biggie didn't holler at Pac while he was down and locked up. Snoop a fraud. Suge Knight also cast doubt on the legitimacy of Snoop Dogg's control over Death Row Records, insinuating ownership of the label through dubious methods. In an interview recording unveiled by TMZ in April 2023, Knight, currently serving time, scrutinized Snoop's position as the owner and CEO of Death Row. Knight claimed that Snoop's ownership stake in the label is tied to an alleged criminal act involving both Snoop and Michael Harry O. Harris, a convicted drug kingpin and initial financial supporter of Death Row Records. Overall, it seems it might be very hard for Snoop Dogg to regain respect from the streets. That's it for today. Until next time, bye.
Damn. So that way, Snoop ain't got no respect in the hood. Simple as that. Just like I said, his hood's not respecting him. Yeah, these motherfuckers is all in this motherfucking ass. They are not feeling Snoopy D-O-double-G for shit. But anyways, though, that's the way the game go. But yo, I'm about this motherfucker. Rude dog. Holla at you. Nigga.